Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, President Bongbong Marcos' official trip to the United States racks up investment pledges and affirms tighter ties between the Philippines and the U.S. The chief executive clarifies some of the country's position on geopolitical issues. Philippine ambassador to the United States, Babe Romualdez, joins us live. And later, the World Health Organization says COVID-19 is no longer a global emergency or health emergency. Infectious diseases expert Dr. Ronchin Solante tells us more later in the program. President Bongbong Marcos admitted after his official trip to the United States that threats to peace and security are the main concerns facing the Philippines and the region. The president also clarified some of the Philippines' position on two geopolitical issues, the South China Sea and Taiwan tensions. After Mr. Marcos had added that the Philippines should continue talks with China despite repeated incursions on the West Philippine Sea.
We constantly consult with our allies and our partners. We constantly keep our lines of communications open. I suggested that we institute a system wherein we have a direct contact, one president to the other. And in that way, no matter if I cannot speak, for example, to President Xi himself, I have someone that I can pick up the phone and call who I know and I have confidence in making my message arrive to the president.
Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Philippine ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Babe Romualdez. Ambassador Babe, it's good to see you again. Have you rested after the trip of the president?
Recovering. Thank you very much, Pinky, for having me.
All right. First, it was a jam-packed, it seemed like a jam-packed 5-day visit by the president. Overall, how would you describe that trip?
Well, I would like to say that it's near perfect because everything that we planned for that trip came into fruition, so to speak. And everything that the results, most especially, was a very, very satisfying. It's very good.
Near perfect.
Everything went well.
So basically, you're saying that everything planned almost happened with a near perfect statement. What did not happen?
Well, just a few kinks here and there that I say that there were a couple of meetings that we wanted the president to be able to make, but unfortunately, because of scheduling, some of the other people that we wanted the president to meet didn't quite happen. But hopefully, we'll have the opportunity to bring them to the Philippines to be able to meet with the president, mostly on the business side of things.
Business side.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about that a little later on because there was a promise from the U.S. president about bringing a trade and investment mission. It said it's first of its kind here in the Philippines. But when I knew that we were going to talk, Ambassador, I really wanted to personally ask you because, looking back, you served as ambassador to the U.S. during the Duterte administration. We talked many times and continued on with the Marcos administration. Can you give me a sense of the atmosphere given this renewed or maybe even invigorated relationship with the U.S. that turned quite cold during the Duterte administration?
Well, obviously, President Marcos was given the red carpet treatment here in the United States. After all, we haven't had a Philippine president come to Washington, D.C. in the past almost over 10 years, actually. That was the last time we had a president here from the Philippines. So we were very pleased that he was given this special welcome. And short of a state dinner, he was practically being given it was like a state visit, in my view. So, but nonetheless, I think the relationship now has evolved, as the president would like to describe it. It's become now to a certain point where I think the relationship is stronger than ever, and I think that there's a lot of understanding now on how we will proceed in the next 10 years with how our relationship with our only treaty ally will be like. And again, most importantly, I think we're going to have a lot of economic activity coming from both our countries.
How to proceed? Let's talk about that. First and foremost, President Biden reiterated its ironclad commitment to the Philippines, stating that any armed attack on U.S. or Philippine armed forces, public vessels, even Coast Guard or aircraft in the Pacific, including the South China Sea, will invoke the Mutual Defense Treaty. Ambassador, for years, there are really questions on the scope and what the Mutual Defense Treaty, actually really covers. I can even go back to some of the research even during President Obama's time. But moving forward, has this meeting, would you say, between the two presidents and the bilateral defense guidelines henceforth made the Mutual Defense Treaty crystal clear?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think that this time the Mutual Defense Treaty is not only clear, but it also sets what are the parameters, so to speak, on how we will proceed in terms of invoking it. The United States has clearly said that if any armed attack is given to any part of the Philippines or a Coast Guard vessel, they will come to the defense of the Philippines. So that alone, I think, is very clear now, more than it ever was. So I would say that the Mutual Defense Treaty is what President Marcos described as an evolving relationship that we have with the United States. It has now evolved into a more crystal clear type of agreements that we have, which includes, of course, the VFA and the EDCA site.
First, this is the first guideline. I was always looking into this since the MDT was signed in 1951. Is this the first of its kind, this bilateral defense guideline?
I wouldn't say that, because we have what we defense board that's been in existence for a very long time already. As a matter of fact, I think even as far back as the time of President Marcos Sr. and President Cory Aquino, it's always been there. So we have a mutual defense board that can actually meet almost every year to be able to continue to discuss on how we can improve it. But it has become more intense, obviously, with the situation that's going on in our part of the world. And so over the past 3 to 4 years, we've had a number of meetings on the Mutual Defense Board that clearly now makes it what are the parameters and what are the things that need to be clarified, if there's any, and also the improvement. We want to improve this kind of a treaty that we have with the United States, the only treaty we have in the world.
Mm-hmm. The bilateral defense guidelines, you were saying that this makes the Mutual Defense Treaty crystal clear. But I hope, I don't know if this is something you can expound on. Please say so if not, sir. But it included, what is being described as gray zone tactics. I know that there's not too much familiarity on these, but, upon research, these tactics are actually activities that go in the middle between peace and conflict or war. Because of this gray zone tactics, how does this actually apply to the Philippines, specifically the West Philippine Sea?
Well, I think generally that would mean that if any of our vessels are attacked by any of these gray zone or gray vessels, that's really what it means. Then the MDT can be invoked. But as I'm very pleased that you gave me the out here, because I really am not the person to discuss in detail all of these things, or if we are authorized to do so. If anyone in our government is authorized to do so, except our defense and intelligence communities in the Philippines, they're the only ones that really know exactly what these things are and what will spark or will make us call on the MDT to invoke it.
Yeah,
it's really with our defense department, obviously.
Right, we'll ask them that. That's why I wanted to make sure that I was on the right track in asking you that. Definitely, sir, there are other people who possibly can expound on this more. But we need to take a very short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. Watching The Source on CNN Philippines, I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Babe Romualdez. Ambassador, then let's talk about joint patrols. Any idea when this will begin?
Well, we're already very, well, I would call continuing discussions on this joint patrol with the United States, and I think Australia also is going to be coming in.
Yeah.
So I would guess a guesstimate would be no later than the third quarter of this year. We should have that in place. So that's my estimate, because of the fact that I know that all of these discussions are ongoing right now on how we can implement this joint patrol exercises with both Australia and the United States.
Tell us also more about this, what the President had mentioned on this trilateral defense treaty between the U.S., the Philippines, and Japan. What does this entail?
I think that it really means we do have some sort of like a visiting forces agreement with Japan right now. I'm not sure the exact word that we use is something like SOTO or something like that. But anyway, the bottom line is that Japan obviously is now a strong partner of the Philippines, and we would like to see of engagements with them also, not in the defense side of the equation. So we have this agreement between Japan, the Philippines, and the United States on many other multifaceted aspects of our relationship. Part of it is the economic part of it, and the other part is the defense. So we can see that coming into play in the next couple of months also with the discussions that we have with Japan.
Okay. Just quickly, I want to go to the investments, but just want to jump into this. I forgot to ask you about this. The President's position on EDCA. He's made it clear to everyone that this is not going to be, the 4 new sites are not going to be used for staging points. That's what the President said. That's the sense you got as well, sir. Now, it was also very clear that way.
Yes, the EDCA sites definitely are not going to be used for offensive operation. The agreement that we have with the United States is very clear that we will use these EDCA sites for our defense, as part of our defense strategy, and also, as the President said, for disaster preparedness. This is really what the purpose of those EDCA sites are. And the VFA obviously also in having those EDCA sites, the supplies and everything, all of these things are part and parcel of the agreement that we have with the United States.
Any timeline, though, if you would know, sir, when these 4 new EDCA sites will be operational?
Well, I would think that within the next, it depends on how much improvements that are going to be put in place. The United States, I think, has increased their initial figure that they gave of about $82 million. They're increasing it to a much higher amount because they see that there's value in improving many of these EDCA sites to prepare us for part of our defense, and at the same time for the VFA, and also, again, for this disaster preparedness. I would think that it'll probably take like the first 5, it'll take probably about a couple of years for it to be fully implemented.
Let's talk about the investments, Ambassador. It was reported that the President secured about over $1 billion in pledges. He had a meeting with U.S. businessmen. There are already reports on Moderna coming in, building a vaccine facility here. You have a solar company. You also have a healthcare service provider, I believe. So I want to start with Moderna. How did this come about? Because I understand that if they do set up a vaccine facility in the Philippines, this is the first in Asia, and it will actually serve Asia.
Yes, absolutely. Well, as you know, we've been in discussion with the Moderna from the time we were talking about buying vaccines from Moderna. We've had a very good, close relationship with their international vice president, Peter Berghardt. Bertstadt. Okay, very hard to pronounce his name, but anyway, Patrick. I'm sorry, it's Patrick, and he's been very, very gung ho about setting up something in the Philippines. So the first part of their investment will be on a commercial, sort of like a commercial entity that they'll set up in the Philippines to look at the distribution for the Asian region. Bumping it up later on to actually doing a lot of research together with our new Virology Institute, and then at the same time manufacturing vaccines not only for potential, what do you call this, for any potential pandemic, but mRNA technology is also going to be used a lot for cancer. This is something that made the president very, very interested in Moderna's plans of setting up shop in the Philippines. So this is going to be really good, another really good opportunity that being made available for us, that we will be now the hub of Moderna in distributing to the Asian region.
Very interesting, Ambassador, definitely. When do you think this will begin?
Well, they're going to set up shop right away. In fact, Patrick is going to be in Manila, I think, in the next 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And they're already, first and foremost, they're going to set up an office, obviously, in Manila. And then from there, they're going to be hiring people to be able to start the operations, how they can now, where the sites will be and what will be needed to go on the next phases of their plans. Moderna is a very, very, very forward-looking company, a pharmaceutical company that they have such a lot of good plans for the world in the healthcare situation.
Yeah. So as I mentioned a while ago, there's also solar and I believe also a healthcare provider. But Ambassador, as I mentioned earlier during the interview, President Biden said he would send a presidential trade and investment mission soon. From what I read, it was supposed to be the first of its kind. Can you give us more details about this?
Well, yes, President Biden announced that he is going to send a top-notch American businessman that will be organized by the Department of Commerce, headed by Secretary Raimundo, who will lead the delegate to the Philippines, I think, as early as possible. And this whole group of people, part of the top 500 companies in the Philippines, or rather in the United States, will be invited. Hopefully, we'll have at least 100 of them coming to the Philippines to look at opportunities. And as the president said, this type of investment is most welcome, but it's not as if we're selling something that's a lemon. The Philippines is now the fastest growing economy in Asia. We have a 6% GDP growth expected, which was announced by the World Bank IMF during the IMF conference here in Washington, D.C. A couple of weeks ago. So it's really been it's an attractive place to invest now, and I think that this kind of interest is now even much stronger because of this revitalized relationship we have with the United States. So this is another big plus for us that's coming our way.
Just as a last question, biases aside, Ambassador, which other company are you excited, a U.S. company, to invest here in the country?
The one that's very exciting, that even the president is also very excited about, is this new technology on the modular nuclear power plants. This is called ultra safe, and it is really what it is, ultra safe. It is a new technology. It's not going to use the old type of technology, and they say that this is about 99%. Now, of course, we don't know until it's there, because they're going to use little pellets to actually to capture the uranium, and this will be part and parcel of what will make the nuclear power plant go. This is something really very exciting. In fact, the president asked for more literature because he'd like to really look at it. He is, as he says, he wanted to be a physicist, and so he's very interested to find out this type of technology. And I think that that's going to really help our energy sector. You know, we need a lot of energy in the next 5 to 10 years because of our growing economy and our growing population. So this type of technology that's being given, or that's being sort of like coming into the Philippines, will be coming into the Philippines, is going to be really good for us. It's really something very exciting.
Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Babe Romualdez. As always, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Pinky, and it's always nice to see you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Coming up, the World Health Organization declares that COVID-19 is no longer a global health emergency. Is this a cause for rejoicing or for more caution? We'll be right back.